Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, but my philosophy has been, having been around the street since, I'm ashamed to say, to be honest with you, I started Merrill Lynch in 1977 and was a portfolio manager for many years. I managed several $100 million and was a very conservative portfolio manager, and that's when I started looking around for a way to hedge portfolios. But my attitude is and always has been a lot today, and if you can learn just one thing today or one item or one suggestion that'll make you a better investor or a better trader, it's time well spent. And I'm sure between all of the speakers and myself, we hope that we provide you with some good information that will help you in that endeavor. Now, as you can see, I've been around a long time, and what I am going to talk about that I think is unique is not what we trade necessarily, but when we trade it. And we are trading in the globex session or after hours market. So real quick, so I can try to determine the best way to take this conversation between you and I today is, have any of you ever traded globex, or what we call the after hours market, where you can trade futures only now? That's not to be confused with the equity market that trades from about 3 o'clock when the U.S. market's closed till 7, where you can trade equities. It's, most of the big caps, for the most part, the big names, it's very thin. But we're talking about the globex, where you trade futures only. And how many of you have ever traded this market or traded futures? So again, that'll help me, and which is the best way to take this. Okay, so the majority of you have not traded futures or have not traded in the globex. Now, the globex, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's was created, and I have been involved with this market since day one. Are y'all able to see the entire screen? Because what I have is covering it up just a bit. Make sure you can see it okay. All right. The globex was created by Reuters in 1992. It was a joint venture, actually, between the CME and Reuters, and it was to accommodate currency traders, because, as many of you know, currencies all have and do trade around. And so they had the currency traders that would stand around the CME at night and as floor traders, and it was very slow. It was a money-losing proposition. So they created an electronic platform from which to trade. Now, this electronic platform, guys and gals, is considered the grandfather of electronic trading. And in that day, just real quick, you had to have a globex terminal. You had to be approved by the futures exchanges. You had to spend a few $1,000s to obtain the terminal, and then it was about $1,000 a month just to maintain it on a monthly basis. And the bills were, to say the least, awful. It was very, very slow, very low volume. You could only trade the currencies, the S&Ps, the markets. Today, you can trade just about any market you can think of. Now, in the early days, the only way you could access this market was via a globex terminal, as I was just talking about. And if you didn't have that globex terminal, you just couldn't participate in this market. Now, today, if you have a couple of $1,000s in an account and you have a login through a platform, you can now access this market, and it's been that way only since 2005. So what I'm saying is, this is still a very young market as markets go. I wish that when I first started trading it, and there was just a handful of us in the entire country, I wish I had an instruction manual or something to do this, or it was okay to do that, because it would have saved me a lot of pain and misery. And as I like to say, we all like to say, the tuition that we paid to learn these markets. Now, what is great about this market is it is a slower trending market, and because it's a slower trending market, it gives you an opportunity for trade setups very unlike the volatility we see during the day. One of my favorites is you do not have these buy and sell computer programs that cause so much volatility. The reason you don't have it in the globex at night is there's just not enough volume to accommodate these quant models, and they require a tremendous amount of volume. So we have, since the early 90s, I've been doing this, setting up trade signals that only work at night. And if I say anything today that I would ask you to remember is if you're not taking advantage of the globex or the 24-hour market and you're only trading in the U.S. during the day, you're leaving some 17 hours of very valuable information that could help make you a better trader and a better investor. Secondly, you have to have an open mind about the globex market because it is a different market. Even though we trade in the S&Ps and we only trade the S&Ps in this space, even though we trade the S&Ps, it's still a very different philosophy than trading during the day. What's really great about this market, there are two things. One is because there's less volatility, you can use tighter stops. We generally use 2-point stops during the day. In the evening, when we're trading, sometimes 3, so we can use tighter stops. As many of you know, if you watch these markets in the last month or so, 2 points, even if you have the direction correct, mean nothing. And because there's less volatility and you can use these tighter stops, there's less risk, and you still have the same profit potential. But again, my favorite is you just don't have these computer buy and sell programs that can cause a tremendous amount of volatility. Now, at night, what is different than during the day is that you have to follow, some other foreign markets like the Hang Seng and the Nikkei during the Asian session, and the DAX and the FTSE during the European session, and I'll explain those in just a second. Now, in addition to the ability to trade this market in speculation, you can also hedge in this market. And this is actually how I got involved, because back in the early 90s, I was looking for a way in the middle 90s to take advantage of what I thought would be a great opportunity to short the Japanese market or the Nikkei. Many of you who've been around a long time may remember it was trading in the 39,000, 40,000 index that ultimately over 20 years fell to 7,000. Now let me say that again. That's just as X as our Dow. Over a 20-year period, and many of you have heard the stories of disinflation in Japan, that market fell from 40,000 down to 7,000. It was a hot market at the time. There was a tremendous amount of liquidity. There was a lot of money in Japan, and they were using that money to buy up assets all over the world. Some of you remember they bought Rockefeller Center. They bought, the Pebble Beach Golf Course, some, very iconic land sites and real estate here in the U.S. And everyone thought the Japanese were going to take over the world. At that time, I was trying to figure out a way to short that market, and even though I worked for a New York firm that had a presence in Tokyo where I could open, it's still problematic for me to do so. I had to not only open an account in the yen, but it was very difficult to get quotes. It was very difficult to follow the market to figure out what was doing. The liquidity was absolutely awful. I couldn't figure out whether I was up or down. So, as luck would have it, I just decided not to follow through with the trade. And, of course, I left a lot of money on the table. It's always the good ones you don't do that make you the most money. But the point I'm making is that today, now, if you decided that the Nikkei in Japan, the Hang Seng, the DAX, which late has been a tremendous short because of the problems we're all familiar with in Europe, the markets, the S&Ps, the bonds, gold, oil, any of these markets that you want to try to take advantage of at night when everyone else in the U.S. is sleeping, this is the market where you do that. This is the market where you learn how to do that. So futures are not only an effective way to hedge a portfolio, but they're an excellent way to also trade and earn some income on a monthly basis or weekly basis, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, I don't have the time to go through this slide, but I'll just put it up there for just a second so you can get a sampling, if you will, of how the hedging would work if you wanted to hedge a $75,000 portfolio with one S&P contract. So in addition to being able to trade this market, it is an excellent source in order to hedge a portfolio. So what I like to say is, even if you're not going to trade this market, it's imperative that if you're going to trade and invest and manage your own money, that you understand this market at night, that you understand what goes on in the globex, and you understand at least how to access it, even if you're not going to trade it. Now, we have seen a tremendous amount of volatility in the markets here of late, which has been excellent for us in that we have an S&P that will rally 2 or 3 or 4 points during the Asian session, we call it, which is from 5 to midnight. And then from midnight to 5, we have the European session, which is the DAX and the FTSE for the most part. Those are the two markets you want to follow. And when that DAX starts to sell off, it gives you a tremendous opportunity to short into that run that you had during the Asian session. And then, of course, when the U.S. opens, it's anyone's guess as to what that might do. All right, so real quick, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Many of you have seen and heard this. You know, what's the difference between a successful trader and an average trader? And, of course, you know, you have to have an effective plan or discipline. I think we all know that. So after 24 years of being involved with the global marketing, futures, and money, this is the plan that we came up with that we find is consistent and makes folks money. Now we're going to talk real quick about key market times because they're important in this space. The proprietary signals and indicators that I have developed, and in fact we have one of them setting up tonight. Greekisms, which is a nickname for just general market signals that I have developed over the years. We have, I will say, probably one of the nicest, most helpful, and friendliest chat rooms I have ever been involved with them. We're very proud of that. And they have this tendency to give each other nicknames. And the signals and these events that occur regularly in this market that I have found over the years, they have given nickname groups. And then we have money management. If you do not have an effective money management system, I don't care whether you're trading the globex, I don't care whether you're at a casino, I don't care what you're doing. If you do not have a consistent and effective money management system, you will not be consistent in your results. That much I can promise you. So real quick, I'm going to go through these so you can get just a feel for how we approach this market, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're expanding into the 24-hour market. Okay, so key market times, that's when the U.S. is not in control. This, again, is why the trading at night is different than trading during the day. And you may Asian control, as we call it, starts, as I said a few minutes ago, at 5 and goes till midnight. And that pretty much is the Nikkei in Japan and the Hang Seng in Hong Kong. Now, some of you are wondering, why not Singapore? Why not South Korea? Why not Australia? These are important markets, but they do not affect the S&Ps, and you have to remember, we're only looking for those markets that affect the S&Ps, and if we can figure out which way the S&Ps are going by understanding these other markets, then we can make money, and that's what we do in this space. Now, the European control starts at midnight, goes till 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's generally made up of the DAX and the FTSE. And the DAX almost moves in hand with the S&Ps. So if you can get a feel for which direction the DAX is going in, then you can figure out the S&Ps. Now see, this is one big difference of trading during the day. During the day, you don't really care much about the DAX or the FTSE, but at night, you better know which way those markets are moving, or you're at a huge disadvantage when you're trying to manage money. Okay, so real quick before I continue on, are there any questions about anything I've talked about so far? All right, so for example now, I think we all know we're in a 24-hour market, and our group now is trying to take advantage of the 24-hour marketplace. If you stop and think about it, a few years ago you really didn't care about China's PMI or China's GDP, but how many times now have you turned on the TV in the morning when you're having your early morning coffee to figure out what the U.S. markets are about to do or are doing, and you find out that there was a big sell-off in the S&Ps at night in the globex session because China's GDP came in less than expected. Their PMI maybe was worse than expected. Germany's flex worse than expected. Or their IFO, which we had the other night, came in, which is the equivalent of our confidence numbers, came in worse than expected, and the S&P sold off. Now, it doesn't mean they may not rally in the U.S. We see that a lot, but they were down during the globex session, or overnight markets as they call it. So that is why it's important for you to at least have a feel for the 24-hour market and what takes place there. And that is what we do, and that's what we specialize in. Now, I know many of you are thinking that I don't have time to become an international economist. I don't have time to learn all these different terms in these different countries. This is one thing I will promise you. If you've ever wanted to learn how to trade futures, this is the space in which to do it, because we make it have to become an international economist. We provide you with all the information you need in our chat room. And what we don't provide you, I promise you, the folks in our chat room will help you with. We have in-depth education pretty much every other Tuesday, or at least 2 or 3 Tuesdays a month, where the various moderators and traders come on and help you understand the markets that they trade in. But the key overnight trading window in this market is from 5 p.m. till 3 a.m. in the morning. That's pretty much the hours, and I know you're also thinking, you know, this isn't for me. I can't stay up all night. I have a job. I have kids to take care of. You know, even if you're retired, it can be problematic. We know that. That's one of the negatives of trading with us. Now, we do have a tremendous number of Australians and Europeans. Of course, it's their daytime that trade with us in this market, but the folks who are here in the United States and the good old US of A, they generally trade with us from about 5 in the afternoon till midnight. I would say 75% of them is what they do, and then we have about another 30%, I would say, of that group that stay up after midnight and trade with us. And the majority of our trades take place before midnight. And we also have ways to alert you that so you don't have to sit in front of the screen and monitor the screen the entire evening and stare at it, because sometimes it can be a slow market. We send out alerts. We send out alarms. We make noise. You just leave your speakers on, and trades being modified or changed, or stops being moved, or we got stopped out, or, you know, we're taking a profit. We are able to notify you through that mechanism. So we have spent years of doing this. We've developed many systems that we feel very comfortable with, that our members are comfortable with. And let me say this again, if you've ever thought about learning how to trade futures, it's a lot better to learn it in this market where you don't have these computer buy and sell programs, and it's a much slower market where you can use tighter stops. I'll say this again, if you're ignoring the night session, you're missing out on 17 hours of very valuable information that would help that will help make you a better investor and a better trader. All right, now we are a big believer in the 24-hour market, as I have talked about. So just recently, for the same membership price that we had for folks who were just trading from 5 in the evening till 3 in the morning, we have slowly been adding traders, and we're going to have, as far as we know now, when we've done some research, the only live 24-hour chat room that we have heard of or seen anywhere. Now, there are a lot of chat rooms that are open where you can participate in the auto trade, and they have, you know, charts and buy and sell buttons. We're talking about literally having moderators and live traders to help you navigate these markets, along with charts and very useful tools in which to trade. Now, from 5 to 7, we have Doc Stanley, who's been teaching options and trading for, I don't know, almost as long as I have. He's been around a long time. Many of you may have heard his name. And he teaches a course as well on the psychology of trading. Now, he moderates and calls trades from 5 a.m. till 7 a.m., mostly the Russell, NASDAQ futures, and option trade setups. Then from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. we have, and these are all central times that I'm using, of course, Roy Bigler, who comes in and calls some scalping trades, does a very good job. And then we have Dirty Harry, who's in the room with us somewhere here. Dirty Harry, as we call him, is his nickname. He calls on future and commodities, the bonds, the S&Ps. Sometimes he'll call a corn trade. He calls trades from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And we're going to add some other traders, hopefully a currency trader and possibly some more option folks, and then we'll have our 24-hour clock literally around the 24 hours. That's 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. You have very experienced professional traders helping you to navigate and understand these markets and trade, and they call live trades. And they also trade, when they call a trade for you, they're also trading in their own accounts. We all do that, because if we believe in the trades we're calling and we're recommending to you, then we're for ourselves. So we are fast developing the 24-hour room. We haven't, fortunately, raised the membership cost, so the folks who have been joining us can get the 24-hour access. Now, again, we're not quite 24 hours, but we've got about 18 hours of it taken up, and we're working on the balance of it. That's why we haven't increased, you know, the fees in the room yet for the membership. We charge $147 a month now. We have a trial for 30 days that I'll talk about a little later that's $47. And hopefully when we get the 24-hour room up and running, as you can imagine, we have to pay these traders for their time and their effort. We'll probably go to $195 a month. But if you join our room before we increase the membership fees, you'll be grandfathered at the $147 for as long as you're a member. Again, the trial that I'll talk about here in just a minute is $47, and I'll talk about that towards the end. All right, so I have spent a long time, as many of you can imagine, since the early 90s developing proprietary signals that only work in this space at night. Believe me, they won't do you any good during the day. And just like we have during the day, we have certain pivot times in the markets at night. For example, around 12:30 to 1, just before the DAX opens, you'll see some movements in these markets. You'll see some movements when just before the Nikkei and the Hang Seng opens, or if there's news. This is the most interesting one. Most all of you have this particular tool on your platform called the Depth of Market, or the DOME. And believe it or not, it's a very useful trading tool in the evening. It's a volume indicator, but during the day, if you try to use it, it's totally ineffective. But at night, it's one of the most effective indicators that I've found, and we use it as one of our primary indicators. And we do follow other markets that could affect the movement of the S&P, such as the bonds, the yen, the euro, especially with all this financial engineering that we've seen here of late the currencies are having more and more of an influence at night than they used to. All right, now Greek isms that I mentioned before, these are just general events or signals I have developed over the years. They're different from the indicators, and if I found something that worked 80% of the time, then I adopted it. Now, if you can find something that works 75, 70% of the time, you know, in the world of trading, then you can do very well. Nothing, as many of you know, works 100% of the time, and if someone tells you they have an indicator that works 100% of the time, I suggest you run in the other direction. All right. Here's an example of what a Greekism is to just give you a feel for. Now, these are not indicators, as I said earlier. These are just setups that we normally see on a regular basis. The Monday following options expiration Friday, at some point they'll rally them, and so if you have that information up to, and let's say you're trading in the globex on Sunday nights because that's when the market opens, is at 5 o'clock Sunday night. If you know at some point they're going to rally this market because of options expiration Monday following options expiration Friday, it can give you a tremendous advantage when you're trying to determine how you're going to manage your trades. Now, this one we're going to use tonight. I can tell you it's one of my favorite setups. This is the one that the members of our room love the most. It's the one that we have the highest success ratio with. And this is the overnight short squeeze. Now, today you had a tremendous rally into the close, and when we see the S&Ps close at near the top tick, now today they closed at 1980, had some rather negative news this morning, yet they took it up anyway based on better earnings that we're seeing, and you know, the real reason is, to be perfectly honest, it's end of the month and we have the Fed meeting tomorrow. That's 80% of what you saw today. But when the S&Ps close at the top tick of the last hour of trading, let me say that again, they close at the top tick of the last hour of trading, what we'll do is we'll sell into that, into the close. They close at 4:15 Central Time, and when they open at 5, we hope to be able to scalp a point or two or maybe even 3. So this is sort of just a broad explanation, if you will, of how we use these isms, or they're just general events that occur on a regular basis in the room. Now, a few minutes ago, I mentioned that if you do not have an effective money management system, you will not be consistent in your results. I am almost certain of that. At least in my experience, that's what I've observed and seen. Now, the way we approach the money management system in our room, and this is what we suggest folks do, is that when you join our room, we ask you to set a goal as to how much you would like to make a month to supplement your income, because that's why we're here. We're not here to, you know, make you millionaires. We're here to supplement your income, and we'll use an example of let's say you want to supplement your income by a couple $1,000, and do that very easily by, you know, being involved in our chat room, especially now that we have the 24-hour setup. What is the biggest mistake that we see most make with their trading is that one, and this should not surprise you, many of you have seen this and are familiar with it, is over trading. I don't think that'll surprise anyone. Trying to hit home runs, that shouldn't surprise you. Now, this one may, to some degree, is not withdrawing profits on a regular basis. What we suggest you do is that you pull money out of your account weekly, monthly, quarterly, whichever makes you feel the best, because, you know, if you have a discipline and you follow your discipline, use the computer, you work hard, you manage your money, you manage your discipline, reward yourself. Reward yourself with, you know, taking some money out of your account, because trust me, it creates an environment and a psychological setup in your mind that by rewarding yourself, you're going to continue to do the things over and over again that you have found to be successful, that will make you consistent and a better trader or a better investor or a better manager of your investments. Now, the fourth one, this is where I see a lot of traders, they make a mistake, is trading either too many or not enough contracts. And 1 minute they're trading one contract, and then they'll start trading one contract, and they get behind, they add another one, and then another one, and then another one. You know how it goes. You've seen it happen if you've been a trader. Next thing you know, you're trading a 4-lot in a losing trade. You're trading 1 lots in winning trades. What we do is we suggest that once you establish a unit, now let's just use the example of a unit being 2 contracts. And this is how we approach it. When we recommend a trade, we recommend you put on either a half unit or a full unit, depending on whether we want to leg into the trade, we want to step into it slowly or move away from it, depending on, you know, how volatile the markets are. But let's consider a unit as 2 contracts, and a lot of your futures, and you're a 1 contract trader during the day, you can trade 2 contracts at night because, as I said, it's a slower market. And we may stagger or put the position on at different levels so to increase our chances for being successful. And when we exit a trade, we do the same thing. So our goal is to make a slow and steady 2 to 3 points, 1 to 2 points, because if we can do that, you can meet your goal. So let's use the example again of trading 2 contracts, and you're going to set a goal of making $2,000 a month. That's $100 a night if you try to average $100 a night, assuming you're going to have some losers. Assuming you have 20 trading days in the average month. Of course, you know, it's different during the holidays, like especially around Christmas and Thanksgiving. But assuming you have 20 trading days, assuming you're going to have some losing nights, if you can average $100 a night times 20 trading nights a month, then you see you can supplement your income by $2,000. Now, that's very easy to do because on 2 contracts, you only need 1 point in the S&Ps, and we do that on a very consistent basis. You don't have to hit home runs in order to take advantage of our system and our management style. If you want to make more than $2,000, then obviously you just trade more contracts. Point being is you trade in pairs, 2 contracts, 4 contracts, and I think you get the idea. All right, so if you set a goal of $2,000 a month and say you're going to trade, 20 times, there are 20 trading nights in the average month, and you're going to have to account for some losses. You're trying to average 1 to 2 trades per night, 1 to 2 points on 2 contracts. It's very easy to meet that goal. Now, here's the hard part. This is what most of us as traders do not do. When you reach your goal, you have to quit, or you should quit. I don't say you have to quit. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of the hard things for me to tell you how many times I've reached my goal at night only to give it back during the day because of the volatility and just the madness of the way these markets have moved here of late. So when you make your goal, have the discipline to walk away and be satisfied that you've hit your goal for now, and you're going to come back tomorrow night and start over again. So again, take a weekly check from your account, monthly. Reward yourself for your time and your efforts. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because my time is limited. These are some of the indicators that we provide in the room. We're a Ninja affiliate. We provide charts and quotes. You have to have real-time Hang Seng and Nikkei, DAX, and FTSE quotes in order to trade these markets. We provide those in the room. And you can see that's on the left. You can see the Asian quotes there about the middle. You can see the European quotes at the bottom. Now, if you try to obtain these quotes real time, you can, of course, obtain them online, delayed for 10 or 15 minutes, but that is just not going to work for you. That'll get you in trouble, especially when there's been news or you're in a fast market. You have to have real-time quotes, just like you do during the day. And these quotes can cost you anywhere from $30, $40, $50 a month. We provide those as part of our membership in the room. Then we have a chart to the where we use some Rinco bars, and we have regular education sessions that teaches you how to use these charts and the systems that we provide you in the chat room. Now, just real quick, we talked about the dome earlier. We have what we call the Dome-O-Matic, which basically does the calculations I used to have to do in my head. And we look at 5 levels on the dome, and then we calculate, where we think the volume is and where it's going to be, and that's how we come up with that particular indicator that we use to trade with. So to summarize again, what we do in the night scalper room, and as I said now, we're expanding to a 24-hour room, and we are going to probably change the name now from night scalper, because what we used to Traders Den 24. But key market times, we provide you with those. We teach you how to identify those proprietary signals and indicators that I've spent a good bit of my lifetime developing. I don't know that you'll find anyone or meet anyone who spent more time in this market than I have. And there's just a handful of us, and I probably know who they all are. The Greekisms, which again are basically events that occur on a regular basis, in the globex session. And then a money management system that one has to have in order to be effective and consistent. So let me just, I can't overemphasize this. If you've ever wanted to learn to trade futures, this is the best place in which to learn, because again, it's a slower market and you just do not have these computer buy and sell programs that you have to the extent that we have them during the day, especially these high frequency trading programs. But we can help you understand this market. I'll say it again, it's not difficult, it's not complicated. So here's pretty much our offer, as I mentioned to you before, to see if what we just talked about works the way we say it does. It's 30 days, and let me tell you what you're going to get for $47 for 30 days. You get 30 days access in the chat room where we call live trades, and as I said earlier, we're calling these trades almost 17 to 18 hours a day. We have very professional and experienced moderators and traders calling live trades. You get the Night Scalper 101 course that I spent years developing. The first Tuesday, we have in-depth training classes, and we're going to expand those now to a couple of Tuesdays every month, where some of the different traders that we have in our chat room will come in and discuss their styles and how to trade with them. You'll get the market times, indicators, and trades from professionals around the clock. You'll get low-risk, high-reward trade setups. You'll get all the useful tools, trade signals, and indicators. And it's $47 for 30 days. Now, I will tell you that, and I think you can do the math in your head, if you learn just one trade technique, if you learn one system that makes you a better investor or a better trader, it's well worth $47. And it's $47 to see if the room performs the way we say it does, to see if you get the results that we just talked about, plus you get all of these other traders. You get the benefit of their knowledge. You get to trade different markets. You have the flexibility to trade when it's convenient for you to. For example, if you work during the day and want to trade at night, the room is open. We're calling live trades. If you want to trade during lunchtime, you can. If you want to trade early in the morning before you go to work, you can. So you have the flexibility of when to trade. You have the benefit of learning and trading with different traders with different techniques and learning how they trade and approach the markets. And this is also something that I really didn't think of till recently as I watched these traders and moderators call trades. is that the chances of all of us having a losing day in any one given day are fairly slim. For example, I might have a bad night, but then Roy in the morning could have a good morning and make it up and then some. Larry and Roy may have a good session in the morning and pick up my loss at night. Or I may have a good night. They may have an off day in the morning, because, you know, it all happens. It happens to all of us. So the chances of you, though, trading with most of these traders and all of us having a losing day, so far I haven't seen it happen. So again, these are the hours that the trades are being called and managed, where we have someone helping you to navigate these markets. And we are adding traders as I speak. So it's Traders Den 24. We don't know of anyone else that has any kind of chat room where live trades are being called, not only around the clock, but different markets with different traders and different styles, different tests. And to see if it works the way I said it, it works. It's $47 for 30 days. After 30 days, you're not happy with it, doesn't work for you, doesn't do what we said it does, you just walk away. All you have to do is just give us notice and we'll discontinue your membership. After 30 days, it's $147 a month. We don't try to sell up. We don't try to sell you additional information. We don't try to give you half our indicators and come back and say, okay, if you pay this, we'll give you the rest of our indicators. We teach you everything we know. We give you everything we have. It's $147 a month, period. You'll never pay any more than that. We think that is one of the best values you will find in the world of online trading. All right, as I promised, I think I have a few minutes to answer some questions. So let me go back just a little bit and pick up some of those that were asked while I was speaking. We have classes for beginners. That is, I think I talked about how much the membership is. The Asian session starts at 5 p.m. All right, let's see what else we have. We don't care, Joe, which platform you trade on, as long as it's on. That's the most important aspect that you need. If you have an active DOM on your trade platform, it really doesn't matter what platform you use. If you're in the UK, Christopher, we have a couple of folks, and they have open accounts here in the US and trade, I think, OEC, Ninja, you know, where you can open these accounts and trade through those platforms. The charts are not a separate fee, Brian. As I said, everything is inclusive of services that you pay for. Everything we do, everything that we can give you is $147 a month, period. We're not going to come back and try to charge you more. And if you're a member in the room with the 24-hour clock, as I say, filled up with moderators, traders calling live trades, we may have to go up on the price, but if you're in time, you're grandfathered. So you will never pay more than $147 a month. Simon, you make a good point in that there are frequent trading programs that are involved with the DAX and the other markets, but not connected trading the S&Ps at night, because, as I said before, there's not enough volume of S&Ps to drive these quant models that most mathematicians created. Yes, there are computer buy and sell programs underlying in the DAX, and you make a good point. hang sing, you know, the Nikkei, sure they have computer buy and sell programs, but you don't have the computer buy and sell programs causing the volatilities in the S&Ps themselves, and that's what we're trading, the S&Ps. Only if we can find the direction of the DAX, that's what we're interested in, or the Nikkei, or the hang seng. Is there an ETF that mimics the E-mini S&P? It does. There is an ETF, Christopher, that mimics the S&P 500, but not the futures that I know of. By them, how big an account size do you need? We were something in the $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 range. As I said, if you've ever thought about learning trade futures, Sam, this is the best place to learn because you just have the volatility that you have during the day. As I said, you don't have these high-frequency trading programs, computers that move the S&P itself. Do you need NinjaTrader to follow the trades? You do not use any platform as long as it has a dome on it. How much money, Sam? Well, I think we answered that one just a minute ago. Just 2 to 3, 4,000, depending on how many contracts you want to trade in your account, is what one could trade with us and be very effective with. The dome, Wayne, is depth of market. It's on most of the platform, and at night it is a very valuable primary indicator that we use at night, but during the day it just will not benefit you.
We got about 1 more minute left for questions.
Okay, let's see. The email there is there on the website. DOME stands for depth of market, Mike. We do have folks in India that trade with us, Australia, as I said earlier, and Europe. Reed, I said for some of those who are asking for the recording.
Yes, this is all being recorded, and we'll have these recordings available for everybody later this week.
Okay, and Sam, I like your southern style. Yes, I'm in the deep, deep south on the Gulf of Mexico, right there on the Florida-Alabama line. All right, Reed, we thank you for hosting us today. We want to thank everyone for their time. And as I said when we started, I hope we provided you with just one bit of information that will help you with becoming a better trader or a better investor.